Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee Chat with David and Kylie Knight.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. You made it through April. Congratulations. Woo! We did it. The month that we thought would never end. But
Right?
yeah, today is Friday, May the 1st, 2020.
Yum.
So, hey, if you're here, please let us know. You can put the little hashtag Hello Nights and hashtag Cup of Awesome
Or if you're watching on the replay, hashtag hash browns.
or
Hashtag replay. I guess that makes more sense. I see Michael Laws, Randy Jackson, Will Sherman in the background watching. Good
Hey,
morning to you
guys.
all. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Good to have you all here. And hey, be sure to tell your friends what you're doing in the mornings and share and like this and
Exactly.
let people know because Facebook loves their algorithms.
So yeah. So yeah, it's Friday. It's a beautiful day,
Yeah,
and it's May.
it is May. It is. You seem very surprised by that.
I kind of am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
It just
you thought I'd never get here, didn't you?
I kind of did.
Well, I gotta say, I was
We've
pretty.
been home way too long.
We have been home way too long. I gotta say, I was really pleased. We've been working really hard on a ton of video projects because that's
Yes.
all we can do now because
Right.
everything's virtual. And just a lot of stuff in the office. I feel like we're busier right now than we've kind of ever been.
Kind of are. Yeah.
But
we're doing videos instead of dragging things through the airport. Right?
exactly. But
Yeah.
yesterday we had the chance to kind of. It was a beautiful day, and we're both like, this would be a great day to just sit on a patio and have some chips and salsa.
So we did.
So we did.
That's one of the great things about working from home. You set your own hours.
Yep.
And we have been working a lot of weekends as well as weekdays. So it got to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon or so. Like, we're closed. We spun that thing around on our door, which we don't really have one.
No.
But we
But if you
said
had
we're closed for the day.
one.
Yeah, the virtual closed door. And we went out and sat on the patio.
Yeah.
Chips and salsa. It was great.
It was lovely. Michael Laws says something is not right with your mic. Well, we're both using the same mic, so I think you just need to project.
Well, the problem is I'm talking to you this way,
That
and
could be it.
there.
That could be
So
it.
I
That's
just need
true.
to
I am.
talk straight on.
Yeah. Michael, does that help?
If I talk this way, does that help, Michael?
That's probably going to make your day a little bit better if you don't have to look at me. He's not.
Today's a great day here. I enjoy looking at you.
Aw, shucks. I enjoy
You're
looking
my
at you.
favorite.
Oh, you're my favorite.
I mean, you're my favorite. I don't know how else to do this.
We'll figure it out. Well,
maybe we're going to be working on the audio and all.
Yeah, we have some plans in the works. Oh, Teresa Westbrook.
Hello,
oh my goodness.
Shalom, my friend.
Yeah, I feel a little unnerved knowing that. Because she's a TV person.
She is a professional.
She has like a full-on production,
person.
and
yes,
she's watching our little rinky-dink show.
I don't know what to do now.
I know, I'm a little nervous. Well, hey, we have a really a packed schedule for the show today.
Yes.
We have an amazing interview coming up in just a moment. We also have a little louder when she looks toward David.
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yes.
A
little louder when I talk that way.
Interesting. Huh. That's weird. Okay. Strange things. Strange things are afoot. But we also have another farm story from Jeniffer Dake.
We do.
And you guys are going to love it. It's crazy.
I know some of you are tuned in just for that.
Right, exactly.
It's not for David or I
or David. It's Jeniffer. Well, hey,
okay.
Let's get to our guest.
Yes, please.
David Reyes is the Director of Student Life at Dallas Baptist University. And in addition to that, he's just a really nice guy. We've had the chance to work with him a couple of times. So we hope you guys will love him as much as we do.
A round of applause for Mr. David
Reyes. Good morning, sir.
Hey, y'all. How's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Hey,
we can. You're coming through just fine.
Good. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. I always love working with y'all, whether it's in person or now digitally now.
Virtual. Yes.
Virtually, yeah.
Indeed. Looks like you are in your office today.
Yeah, I came in. I'm the only one here, so I'm definitely practicing social distancing, but we just,
Nice.
we just moved to a new apartment. And so I'm just kind of, my Zoom backgrounds have been just Lowe's boxes and Home Depot boxes. So I figured, I'm like, well, give me a little change of pace here. But no,
Or you
we're
could
enjoying
create
it.
a great fort back behind you with those boxes.
I know. I need to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
love
you
it.
get a great parking spot because you're the only one there, right?
I love it. Yes. And traffic is not bad. It's great. Yeah.
That's
Did,
great.
did you steal somebody else's parking spot because you knew they weren't coming in?
I made sure to get the best one in the lot, and
Yeah.
but I usually come here early just so I can get good parking. So that's just kind of my nature. So
There you go.
Smart, man.
I love it. I love it. Well, hey, let's jump into our conversation today. We're excited to have you. Let's start with one of my favorite questions.
Mhm.
How did you come to Christ? What is your story?
yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, thanks for asking that. So kind of the synopsis was when I was 10 years old was really when I had the opportunity to go to the First Baptist Church of Uvalde, which y'all know Ralph Huerta, and
Yes.
so that's how I've really got to know y'all. But so Ralph was my youth pastor there for my senior year, but even before that, I started going there when I was 10, and really heard the gospel for the first time and saw people getting baptized, and I was like, what is that? What is going on? And so really just a conversation with my pastor is able to come over to my house and visit with me and my parents about just about my my sin and kind of what that meant. And really, I've had a lot of friends even in college that have said like, oh, I came, I had the conversation, I got baptized when I was younger, but it wasn't until I was in college when I had a lot of that. But really, I really feel like the simplicity of the gospel was really known to me when I was 10. And even though like may not know what all I know now, obviously about rooted in scripture, but I really feel like the Lord really had really called me there. And one of the reasons I really know that and confirm that was when I kind of became a Christian. I remember the date because it was September 10th, 2001, which, as you know, the next day was a very historical day
Oh my
in our
goodness.
country, September 11th. And so I remember just telling my mom, I just was like, Mom, if I was in that plane or if I was in that building, I know where I would have gone because just the day before and so I think at that moment was just total confirmation that I knew that I was going to spend eternity with Jesus. And I think that's just the simplicity of the gospel.
Right there, my friend.
That is a fantastic story.
Yeah,
oh my
definitely
goodness.
one you can remember for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Man, that is awesome.
Yeah. So that helps me remember the date for
Yeah.
sure. Because of this. Yeah.
You'll never forget
crazy
that one.
time. Yeah.
We remember that date too.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about your role at DBU and what that usually entails.
Yeah, absolutely. I came to college here at DBU. I was a Christian studies major, so I had a really early call to ministry. Really felt like that was kind of where the Lord was going to have me, whether it's vocational context or even in other work settings. But yeah, I've loved it. I was really involved as a student, and so now, I'm the director of student life. So my role is I oversee all of our events and activities on campus. I also oversee all of our student organizations, our Greek life organizations, our intramural sports. And so, I mean, being a small, private Christian institution, I just kind of, hey, throw it in, let's get it all handled. And so I really, I enjoy it so much. It gives me an awesome opportunity to hang out with students. And I really feel like I know that, we know we're all doing ministry wherever we are. Right. But I really feel like, I kind of had that struggle leaving kind of my vocational position back into higher education. But I have just loved the conversations I have day in and day out with students, getting to hang out, with them at events and then seeing even their leadership develop as they get to become, presidents of student organizations, and then they have to learn how to run a meeting, and then they come to me and they're like, hey, I have conflict, and there's like, it's, and so those are the things that I really was shaped by when I was in college. And so getting to kind of be on the other side of that has been really so fun. And it's I truly feel like I have the best job on campus, right? I have to have fun for my job. Like that's my role. So.
And they grow up so fast, don't they?
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, yeah. It's hard. Yeah, it is hard. I mean, especially like my student workers that I work really closely with. They help me with events and they help me plan. It's hard to see
Right.
them graduate, but I always get so excited because I mean that's our purpose here is just to help them develop and to kind of grow into their own
And I
wherever they
especially
need to
love
be.
that you're already thinking about bringing David and Kylie Knight in for an event. That's really awesome.
Yes,
too.
absolutely. Yeah, we need to find that. I feel like in every role I've been in, I feel like I've tried to at least bring you guys once where I can. So yeah, we need to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and in all honesty, having worked with you in the past and having been around you, I know your heart, for the Lord and your heart for students, and I just know the impact that you're having on those students' lives. So
Thank you for all you do.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank y'all.
So how have you and DBU had to pivot during this outbreak?
Yeah, well, obviously, like most universities, we had to go all online, and it's been a big adjustment, especially for students because they were already on spring break whenever we decided, and so it was weird knowing that or not knowing that hey, when they left for spring break, they weren't going to be coming back, and it was kind of hard for them to really adjust, and a lot of the conversations I had was. Just the lack of motivation. I think that was really hard for students. But I think one of the things that we've done is just tried virtual engagement where we can. Zoom meetings obviously have been a big thing for everybody, but we've tried it. We've done a lot of stuff on social media. We've picked up we've done a lot of videos. I think I praise to all of our media teams and video teams out there because their jobs have just have been so much more for churches and universities and stuff. Yeah, they really are. And so it's been really cool to just have this technology that we're able to. I always think I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine this pandemic when we didn't have phones and
Right.
social media. Like that would be really tough. But yeah, so I think one of the ways we've just tried to find events to do where I can send videos. I've done interviews with, much like this, where I can, interview some thought leaders and then share a link to that recording with students and just kind of get them engaged in conversation. So I think it's nothing like having people in front of you and kind of doing that, but we've made it work for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right. It's a great time for this to be happening in this technology.
Yeah.
Time.
Well, and kind of on that note, I mean, given your background, given your heritage, you're fairly heavily involved in Hispanic church culture, right? And I'm not a big fan of differentiating church culture. Like I don't like talking about black churches and Hispanic churches and white churches because we're all the one church, right? But let's be honest, there is some disparities and discrepancies. So, in what, if any, ways have you seen the Hispanic church struggling or excelling during this time period?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually serve the university as kind of our Hispanic relations kind of person. So I kind of help our partnership with a lot of our local Hispanic leaders. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think we are one church, but there's several communities and stuff that are kind of together. And so I think it's a beautiful thing that I get to kind of work with them in a lot of ways. But yeah, I really think most Hispanic churches are smaller, and they are kind of a really good neighborhood local community. And so one of the things that I've seen and I've heard from other pastors and stuff that I visited with is they have really advanced their technology, their social media. A lot of times a smaller church can't afford to bring on a full media crew that has all the equipment, everything ready. But you have to make a really quick adjustment when you're not able to meet in person. And so I've been really excited to even see churches that have just kind of put something together and have kind of developed every week. And so I think I've seen a lot of that as a healthy thing, is like, hey, this is a really good thing to get to your people and their congregants. And so I think that's a place where they've really, it was a struggle because, you may not have a lot of those resources. You may not be, you may not have a full-time staff that's devoted to that. but I think they really had to kind of grow through that. But I think the other way, as far as they've excelled, I think that one of those things is just the rich community that the Hispanic culture has. I mean, I think family is everything. I mean, I really enjoyed even myself, just my conversations with family. I think everybody's really hopefully have done more FaceTime calls with family, or you had a little bit more time on your hands. But I think one of the ways that they've done is just try to be community to their families. And I've seen a lot of things online or from friends that are just like, hey, like our Hispanic families are pretty big. It's like it's hard to social distance. And so, but I mean, that's just part of it. You just have to kind of hunker down together and do what's best. But yeah, I really enjoyed our partnership. I was actually on a call last night with some Hispanic college students in our Texas Baptist schools, and just encouraging to hear where they're at and just how they are continuing to excel in their academics, and how we can continue to really kind of be a role model for other Hispanic students and other students that are wanting to pursue higher education. So I'm really enjoying that partnership. So I think it's going really well.
Love that.
Awesome. So what do you feel are the benefits we might see from this pandemic?
Well, I think definitely is the things that I think this is the time that creatives can come out, right? I really feel like this is kind of this is like, if you're a creative, this is your time. Because I mean, you got time on your hands. I mean, you're thinking, okay, as a creator, I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, should I make a podcast? Should I make a movie? What should I do? Should I create a YouTube channel? Whatever it is, but I haven't done any of those things. Yeah, I haven't done any of those things, but I think this is a great opportunity to be innovative. And so I think one of the benefits is hopefully the things that we do are able to kind of continue on, even when things get, whatever normal looks like, even when they get back, is that we can continue having some virtual content where we can kind of interact with a lot more people regularly. And hopefully, I think for me personally, is just kind of the value of my time management. What are some things that maybe obviously margin had to be forcefully created on me, put on me. But I hope that maybe when things get kind of busy again, that I can still find that margin in my life to just kind of set aside for the Lord and set aside for my family.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
very
awesome.
Well said. I love that.
Yeah.
Talking about creatives and innovation and how to spend your time, choosing and prioritizing. There's a lot that could happen during this.
Yeah.
However many weeks it is.
Well, and it's a lot like, we have a business coach of ours who one of the first things he said is, look at the gift of this time. It's a scary time, and certainly, from a health perspective, from a financial perspective, there's a lot of concern, but it is a gift, and how are you going to use it? Real quick before we continue on, I've seen a couple of people jump on: Mark Shadle, Bentley Burns, Joshua Ayala, Dorinda, April. Good to see you guys. Thank you for joining us.
Happy May 1st and loving David's new do.
It's
kind of a forced thing. It's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, I miss that rock solid hair you always sport, man. I love it.
Me too.
We cannot wait to get back to our hairstylist.
Yeah, they need to be classified as essential businesses. That's for sure.
Especially when this happens.
Exactly. All right. Well, this has been fun. We're going to move now into our lightning round that we call 5 questions. All right, David, with all this free time that you've found, what are you binge watching right now?
Let's see. Definitely a lot of The Office, which I always binge watch, but a lot of The Office. And then I was excited that Parks and Rec came out with their live special last night. And so I didn't catch it last night, but I got to watch it on Hulu today. So a lot of The Office, a lot of Parks and Rec, a lot of New Girl, just the old classics that I love on Netflix.
See, we knew we loved you.
Yeah.
You got good taste, my friend. They're some of our favorites too. Okay, if you could have any other job than the one you have right now, what would it be?
I always have wanted to be a PA announcer for a professional sports team. So that is like been, but it's always one of those things that I'm like, oh, that would be really fun, but like as a side gig. But I don't think you can do that as a side gig. I think that's got to be your main gig for the season because you're there all the time. But yeah, I think that would be so much fun to announce players and whatever, especially at a basketball game, maybe.
Oh.
Ooh, so let's do one now. Let's show off your voice and introduce the DBU athletes and do some.
I could just say, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this Zoom call. Starting at center at 5'5", we have David Knight playing for the DBU Patriots.
Woohoo!
How did I get so short?
You shrunk. That's what happened during this time.
The hair's a little down now. So.
I like it. That was great.
You have a great voice for that.
Woohoo.
Yeah, I've always been told to have a face for radio, so I feel like maybe I could do that. So
that's fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
You could take that snippet and send it as your reel.
Reel, that's right, your audition reel.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now we can't. Well, actually, today I guess you can start going back into restaurants in Dallas. A little bit, as long as there's less than 25% of the people there. So, what is your to-go order from your favorite restaurant?
My wife and I have been really loving Bread Zeppelin right now. I don't know if y'all have heard of Bread Zeppelin, but it's basically like it's like snappy salads, but they put it in a Zeppelin. They put it in a bread for you. It's awesome. Yeah. We've really loved it. So we've done that a couple times the past couple weeks.
I like it.
There's one up the road from us. I think we've been to it once.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, maybe you can get it delivered today. It's going to be great.
There we go. There we go.
Good. Yeah. Okay. So what are you reading right now?
Yeah, definitely. I actually picked up a book recently. I did an interview with one of our mutual friends, Mark Matlock, which we know from different youth events. And he wrote this book with David Kinnaman called Faith for Exiles from the Barna Group. And so I've been digging in. It is excellent. He came on and we're going through one of his books with our freshman seminar class on campus. And so he came on and did an interview with us, and he told me about this book, and I ordered it the next day, and so I'm digging in.
Fantastic.
That is awesome.
We'll be finished by the end of the weekend, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mark is a fantastic guy.
I
was actually just thinking yesterday about, we're trying to make our list of people who we want to bring on next, and I was just thinking about Mark. I'm like, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's former magician as well. He's done a lot of things, so I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, he just posted a new quarantine photo of him. It's actually this really kind of cool, moody photo. He's got this beard and this hair, and I guess his son Dax wants him to get back into magic. So,
hey, there you go.
Then he'll take all of our business. So,
stick with what you're doing, Mark.
Right. Keep writing stuff, Mark.
You're doing great.
Okay, final question. They decide to make a movie of your life.
Speaking of movies,
who plays you?
Man, well, I guess based on looks, it'd have to be Brad Pitt or someone like
Obviously.
that, or Matthew McConaughey. But no, I would say if I wanted, I would hope that maybe Jimmy Fallon would take on the role, and I think that would be fun to watch. But I think in reality, if I'm being real and what people have told me, I would say probably Josh Gad, because I think he's hilarious, and we're probably very similar in personalities. So
fantastic.
That is awesome. Those are some great answers. Well, David, thank you so much for being on with us today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have just a couple questions for y'all, if I can ask, if that's all right.
Okay, sure.
just turn it around here, just because I see you do this, but I'm always interested in David and Kylie Knight a little bit more. I know y'all share a little bit, but I just want to know, like, obviously, how did it work out to where, David, you found somebody that would want to share the stage with you and partner in this? I mean, because like that first of all, that's phenomenal, because a lot of times it's like, man, the spouses are kind of doing different things, but Kylie sometimes, or a lot of times, steals the show, David. I got to be honest.
I agree.
And she's, but I wanted to know, how did that did that come about naturally? Was that something that y'all kind of met each other through, or did that something that you just kind of had to jump on later?
He totally tricked me into it. No. I've always loved the stage. Growing up, I remember, I think I told my parents at one point I wanted to be an actress, and they're like, "No, you don't. No, you're not." But I've always loved, I liked watching magic on stage, and then when we met, he wasn't going to have me as a partner, in fact, and then he was in desperate need of somebody because he had this gig where we were doing.
It was 40 shows in 3 days. They were 15-minute shows back to back to back.
Yeah, it was insane. So he's like, I just need somebody to help, reset everything, keep everything moving. And I'm like, sure, I can help with that. And our partnership worked really, really well. And so he's like, all right.
Yeah, it was crazy to me. Like she said, I had plans to not have my partner be my partner. And when she came to help me with these shows, we had this amazing chemistry, and she was anticipating the things I needed before I knew I needed them. And like that was like with like hardly any training in it in what we were doing. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, we have to keep this going. So
yes,
but we're already engaged by that point. So
yeah.
Okay, yeah, y'all do a great job. I've just always wondered that. And kind of last thing I was wondering is, where do you see obviously this is, you do a lot of ministry focused events and things like that. Where do you see the industry of kind of Christian illusions going? Like, is this something that, because I mean, it's been around, for a good bit, and we, a lot of youth events and things like that. Do you see it evolving in any way, changing or kind of going somewhere else?
You want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Yeah, I think my hope is that it evolves. So what we've always said is, like when we first started into this, we would approach the youth pastors to bring us in, because youth pastors are the ones crazy enough to bring somebody like us in. But at the same time, we never want it to feel like what we do is distinctly a youth thing or distinctly a children's thing.
Right.
It's an art form, like it's like music, it's like dance, it's like theater, and so I think what I would love to see is for it to have a broader impact into the ministry events. One of the things I always love is after shows we get comments from the people who brought us in, and they'll always say something like, "Oh, these guys were perfect for whatever the event is." And so like we've got people all the way from like a children's event up to college chapels to senior citizens events, and they all say, "Oh, you need to bring them in for this event because they're perfect for this type of event." Well, that means we're perfect for like almost every event, So, and I think as long as Christian illusionists take their art and their spirituality seriously, I think they're going to push that forward, and they're going to have greater impact for the gospel.
And I think that we want to be excellence. As Christians, we should do everything with excellence. We're children of the King, right? So as children of the King, we should be doing excellence and putting that out to the world for them to see that we're not subpar, we're not below, but we go above and beyond. And so we're always striving to do that. And I know magic in general is kind of intriguing to the general public. And so if a church brings any kind of Christian magician, illusionist in, it can reach people in their community that a praise team may not reach. It's just, so I'm hoping that it will be continued to improve and reach the
that's phenomenal. That's good. I hope it continues to. Well, last thing, David, tell us all the secrets of all your tricks, please.
Kylie, that's the secret to all of it.
Okay, well, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
And so that's how we do everything.
That's it. That's the secret.
I love it.
But you can't share that.
Yeah, but you can't share any of that.
Well, David, thank you so much, my friend. We hope to see you soon in real life. IRL, as they say, and outside of this pandemic. So
yeah, thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great day. We'll see y'all later.
Sounds good, man. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, goodness. I unmuted it. Sorry, I thought I unmuted it. That was my fault. I know what I did. So on Monday, we're going to have another full week of Coffee Chat.
Yes.
Thanks, Michael, for pointing that out.
You.
I have another full week of Coffee Chat with Shake and Christina Alley. They're an awesome couple. You're going to love them. They're
Give a quick highlight as to what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to talk about. So Shake is an amazing kids minister.
Yep.
And so he's going to be talking about that. Christina is actually a licensed therapist. So we're going to be talking about
mental health.
Yeah.
Especially during this pandemic. So they're a dynamic duo. So I know you're going to love those two coming up on Monday here on Coffee Chat.
Yep. Cool. Well, so that was our interview with David Reyes. He was a blast, like I said.
Yeah,
I said it in
David.
the muted part. But now I know the thing you guys have really been waiting for is another Farm Stories from a City House with Jeniffer Dake.
Here we go.
Hi, I'm Jeniffer Dake, and this is Farm Stories from a City House. This week, 80,000 bees. Yeah, you heard that right. 80,000 bees showed up to the farm. And the beekeeper, the master beekeeper who's bringing us our hives of bees, tells me, now, bees can smell fear, so just try not to be afraid and you probably won't get stung. She tells me this because my kids are in little bee suits, my dad's in a bee suit, she's in a bee suit, full on, and I'm just, hi. She's like, oh yeah, come up, look for the queen bee with me. 80,000 bees. Now, to be fair, we only did 20,000 at a time, but we brought the bees up, pulling them out, looking at them. I'm like, great. And then she says to us, now I'm going to leave you with all these bees. They're all in their little hives. They're color-coded. They're painted. Great. She said, now just come out in the morning and make sure that they're all doing okay and let me know. And I'm like, sure. How do you tell if 80,000 bees are okay? Like, what's an okay bee look like? So the next morning, the kids and I wake up, we walk out to the hives, and guess what? Dead bees. I don't know what okay looks like, but I know death is not okay. And I'm like, oh, that is not okay. There are dead bees everywhere. So I go back to the house and I send this lady a message. And I'm like, Miss Master Beekeeper, we have dead bees. Thinking, what happened? Like, come out right away, rescue me. And she just writes back, yep, bees die. But do they die on the front doorstep? Like, they're literally on the step into, is that where bees normally die? Like, oh, I almost made it. I didn't? Like, what is that? And so she explains to me that in the hive, there's bees that are undertakers. And it's their job to go around the inside of the hive and find the dead and dying bees and take them out of the hive. And they just take them out and leave them out on the doorstep because they don't want death inside the hive, because the hive is the wellspring of life, the very area where the bees' new life begins, where they make all their food, like that's life. And so they just remove death and leave it on the doorstep. I thought, wow, are you kidding? She's like, yeah, bees don't live long, and when they die, they don't stay with the living. My favorite story in scripture is when Jesus travels to see Mary and Martha and Lazarus, who is sick. And he waits a few days and then he shows up there and Lazarus has already died. And Mary comes running to him and she's so grieving, right? And she says to him, if you had been here, if you were here, this wouldn't have happened. almost blaming Jesus for the fact that her brother's in a tomb. And the shortest verse in the whole Bible is found there. Jesus wept. And people often say that he wept because he was grieving the loss of his friend. And I don't disagree with that, but I think he wept more because he was watching the death come out of Mary's heart and just be thrown out on the doorstep, out of her. If you had been here, Jesus, if you, boom, it just shows such a lack of trust, a lack of faith that there is a plan that God has, even in the midst of what looks horrible. And I think Jesus cried because he was so relieved that the death of Mary was being exposed and coming out of her in such a way that he could fill the empty space with life again. Because you see, the Bible tells us when we're born again, when the Holy Spirit comes into our heart, that the old is gone and the new has come, that we are transformed, that our sin is removed as far as the east is from the west. And that is a daily thing that has to happen, because if we don't pay attention, death creeps into our heart and starts to erode the wellspring of life. Throughout the last few weeks, I have heard again and again, why has God permitted this to happen? You know why? Because I think he knew it would bring out of us the death and decay that is sitting in the base of our hearts, that needs to be thrown out on the doorstep, just like those dead bees, that needs to be gotten rid of so life can begin in our heart again and the wellspring can build up. See, Jesus didn't have to cry over his friend because he knew, in the same way that sometimes sickness and death brings out the darkness of our hearts so it can be healed, he would call his best friend out of death and into life. And they would rejoice in the healing of Lazarus, and they would rejoice in the healing of Mary's heart and the greatness of her faith as it grew. So as you sit in these weeks of quarantine and as stuff starts to reopen, I encourage you to say, Lord, what in me needs to be taken out and thrown on the doorstep so it can be removed, that my heart may be a wellspring of life, so that as I move forward in the days, it is you that my faith is in, and it is you that I trust even when all looks black. That is my prayer for you this week.
Wow.
What do you do? I mean, come on.
Well said, Miss Jennifer.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Well,
I did not know that about bees.
me either.
I just learned something new.
See, this is educational,
Right? I know.
informative,
Yes.
fun.
Yeah, I love it.
Man, she speaks with such passion.
She does.
I will say one of the greatest blessings of this period has been being able
Yes.
to, show her
Fantastic.
farm stories. So,
Well, there we go, everybody.
well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. And we hope you have an awesome weekend. We are looking forward to hopefully a little bit of rest. Right?
Really?
Well, a little bit.
Oh, okay,
Not
maybe
much.
a little bit.
We still have some stuff to plan.
Yeah, we do.
But yeah, Michael. Yeah, exactly. Great story. Thanks for having her on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She's fantastic.
Fantastic.
So, anyways, we will see you guys next Monday.
Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you Monday morning.
Bye.
Bye.